morning, everybody. This is Mark, and I want to briefly show you a new feature that is in beta test, and if it sounds interesting, we would like to invite you to try out the new features and to give feedback before it goes live across all users. If you like the idea and you don't see any bugs or issues but would like to see it work in a different way, the team would also very much like to have that feedback. So the new feature set is related to, or called, in fact, production pathways. So a production pathway as a concept is all of the propagation activities that take a product from one state to another. And like any pathway, those you have to take individual steps. So this is the metaphor for the new feature, where we define individual steps along a pathway to get to some end product from a starting point. So in the menu, I think most people can see this. If you can't see these menu options, they have not been turned on for your account. So there are two. The first is the production step editor with the little fountain pen thing icon, and the other is the production pathway designer, and that has a square. So here are your steps, and you assemble steps to create pathways. So let me show you what that means. So in the production step editor, you can see there's some things in here already. These define individual product transitions. So for example, when you are transitioning seed into, say, a PL200, or converting seed into a flat or a bulb crate or whatever. Or here's another one building on that, so converting from a flat into a CP32. So these are individual transaction steps or individual conversion steps. Hence, the title of the page is the Production Step Editor. These are easy to add. You just click on the big blue plus sign and you get a very simple panel, and you choose a from size. So let's choose, say, a PL200 to a DP50. Pretty simple. And you'll, in the weeks column, or in the weeks field, you want to key in your estimated or average, or perhaps a conservative number of weeks that you believe it would take your organization, your team, to convert through a 200 to a DP50. So here I'm going to say that takes our team about 7 weeks. So back here, seed to 200, 8 weeks, PL200, DP50, 5 weeks, demo. So these are the steps. Now, to design a pathway, hence the production pathway designer up here, it's also quite simple. You just design and link together a series of steps to get from one form of product to another. So you can see don't have a pathway to go from seed to PL50, so I'm going to create that. I'm going to hit the plus sign. You can key in a custom name, whatever you like standard production, and the software will also create an auto name for you, which you can use. But I'm going to say step number 1 is converting seed to PL200. Boom. And then from there I want to go from a PL200 to a PL50, and then I'll end it there. Fantastic. So I'm going to hit save, and now we have a brand new pathway. Now these pathways are specific to accounts, so these are ArcWild pathways, and your pathways will be unique to you, because obviously you'll be using your own organization's naming for sizes. All right, now let's take a look and see how these pathways are used. So I'm going to navigate to a recently edited suborder to create the production orders to produce that plant. So one little feature that I'm not sure that we announced that sometimes is useful is under the customer menu group, and that is this icon here, recent suborder. So if you're an active and regular user of the software, you know full well how annoying it is to go and find a particular order or release that you're working on when you're someplace else in the software. So this button with the back arrow keeps a running list of all of the orders and releases that you've worked on recently. In fact, it produces a list of the most recently edited one. What we're working on in this demo is this test order. So I'm going to click on the test order so that gets me right to it. And I'm going to scroll down, and I see that this particular client has ordered, looks like 15 trays of PL50s of Amelanchier canadensis. And it has still this orange icon with a plus sign, which indicates that no production order has yet been entered for this line item. So I'm going to go in, take a look at it. So yep, we're going to build these 15 trays of PL50s. Everything looks fine. So I'm going to go ahead and write the production order for it by just clicking the plus sign. Now when you get into this, it's going to ask you what ecoregion or what seed lot you want. Right now there's only one active, which is from 69A, the Cumberland Plateau. So I'm going to choose that one. And now this is a new feature. It will ask you for the production pathway that you would like to use. I'm going to click in there, and right away I see the newly created pathway that we just did together. That was from seed to PL200 to PL50. I'm going to choose that. So PL50, I need 10 of them. The requested date, let me modify that out to when we actually need these. So these are probably just going to go into further beds for grout. So I'm going to say September 1, 2025. Production node, this is a test, so I'll mark it as a test. And you can hit save. If you're using grams, you can key in the number of grams of seed that you want to allocate to this. Alright, so I just saved that. So now, as you know, that production order is just a production order. It does not say that any work has been performed. It's a request to perform work, in the future. Now that that production order has been entered but not executed, you can come down and look at your list of production orders for this order, this line item, and here it is. So please, by September 1st, 2025, have 10 trays of PL50s for this client. Fine. I'm going to click into this production order, and not much has changed on what the production order itself looks like. You can still put in your notes and your quantity and your size and all of these things. But what you'll see now are some additional information down below, which is right now being used to support this new feature, where it details out the individual steps and dates and the total number of growing days from one, for the entire process, assuming that this production pathway is going to be used to produce this plant. To my eye, it all looks fine. So I'm going to click this brand new green button. It's the closest icon we could find that kind of looks like a pathway. And it's a very unexciting button, but you can click it, and it does ask you to confirm that this is what you want to do. I'll read it. It says, invoking this pathway replaces the initial production order with a linked chain of new production orders. I'll show you what that means. So, I'll tell you what it means too. So this production order that we just entered, like normal, will be closed upon accepting this message. And in its place will be two new production orders, one from seed to 200s and then the other from 200s to 50s, with dates and quantities that reflect steps would need to occur in order to have those 10 trays of Amelanchier canadensis out in September. So it'll take the original production order and close it, and replace it with two new ones. So I'm going to say OK, because that's the point of this video. And you can see with these crossed lines, that's your indication that that production order is now closed. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my line item, and sure enough, we can see the original production order for those 10 trays of 50s, and that's been crossed out and replaced with these two new ones. So it's almost like magic. So it's saying that in order to have those 10 trays ready by September 1st, then the 200s, you need to sow 8 trays of 200s in early May, and then convert them to 15 trays of 50s in early, July. And if you do these two things, you should end up at least with the 10 trays of PL50s that you're looking for in September. And those production orders are, fully filled out, as you can see, and they've been created for you. What this feature does is relieve you of having to create manually, all of the production orders to move you from one product state to another, particularly if you're starting from seed all the way through the production process. You don't need to manually write those anymore. The other thing that it allows you to do is to, plan out your production at a much larger time scale. So rather than focusing on what's needed, in the moment, say for the next month or two, and then in 2 months or so, then write a new set of production orders to reflect what needs to happen then, you can instead focus on what products do you need to have in inventory for either sale or for a specific customer order at a particular date, and then to create those production orders, those proactive production orders that will get you there. So for some organizations, this is pretty transformative. For other organizations that don't produce that way, who don't produce the customer orders or to a targeted level of inventory, then this might not be that useful. And that concludes the demo. Now let me go back and talk about a couple of things. So this feature is supported by 2 static numbers for now. The first static number, which we saw under the production step editor, is the number of weeks to convert one size to another. Now, when I first mentioned that, you're thinking, wow, I can think of all kinds of species that take more than 5 weeks to go from a small plug to a big plug, or my seed doesn't take 36 weeks to go from seed to a flat that I can use. Yes, of course. The number of weeks required to convert one form to another, obviously in real life, is species dependent. And the software is already fully set up and capable of recording for you the average number of days or weeks that it takes you in reality to convert one form to another by species, and actually even by either ecoregion or even the individual population code. So if you're using the grower module as it was intended, and capturing those key events such as initial date of germination, final germination, yields, and ready dates, then you are already well on your way to capturing the species-specific or species ecoregion or population code specific production data that's required to be able to have a specific and unique number of weeks or days that it requires to convert that species from one form to another. Now, most users perhaps have not been using those crop management features with the regularity that's required for the automatic calculations to provide useful numbers. We understand that it takes time to grow into that level of data rigor. So until an individual organization's growing data becomes robust enough to be able to turn on the automatic duration value for each production step by species, by population code if desired, then you will remain in this kind of static conservative state. Now you still get to choose for yourself what that number should be. Should it be 5? Should it be 6, 7, 8? You can decide that on your own, and that will be a kind of a global conversion number of weeks for your organizations for that step. But over time, as you build quality information in your growing operation, that static number of 5 can be replaced with a population code or species specific number of conversion weeks. All right, there's another set of static numbers that I want to draw your attention to, and they are under Nursery menu and your size master. So if you pop into size master, you'll see the list of all the sizes that you've set up. and you'll notice that there's a new column to the right. And for now, just calling it the production safety factor, so we all know what it is. So the production safety factor is a static number that you key in, and that is a stand-in number, just like the static weeks number is a stand-in for having quality crop data in terms of the amount of time it takes to convert from one form to another. So these production safety factors, again, are a static number that is designed to temporarily replace yield numbers. Again, yield numbers should come out of your growing process, but in lieu of having yield numbers, by species or by population code, we have these numbers instead. Basically, what this number is saying is that, let's use the DP50 and PL200 combination. So if there's a production order that says I need 4 trays of DP50s, 4 trays, then please produce for me 2 trays of PL200s. Now, if that wasn't clear, I'll explain. So if you need, for a customer, for a project, or just for inventory for sale, if you need 4 trays of DP50s, then theoretically, if you're always running at 100% yield, whether you're starting from a small plug or pulling out of a flat, you only need 200 units. So 4 times 50 is 200. You only need 200 seedlings to pot up into that PL50. Now, you know as well as I know that if you were to sow just a single tray of 200s to get to 4 complete trays of 50s, that rarely works out the way that we all intend. So we probably want to grow a little bit extra to make sure that we have enough of those starter, enough of the one size to be able to convert into the total quantity of the larger size. So that's what this safety factor is doing for you. So, and you can choose this. You can choose any number that you like, but in this specific example, if I need 4 trays of 50s, that's 200 plants. Then I would normally, just from math, say I need 1 tray of 200. But here with the safety factor of 2, that converts that 1 tray of 200s into 2 trays of 200s, because 2 times 1 is 2. So you can choose, for now, a static safety factor for each of your sizes. I hope that made some sense. These static numbers ultimately for your organization will be converted to actual yield numbers so that you're not stuck with this static number. Let me offer an example. So let's say that you're growing Corydalis sempervirens, the rock harlequin. If you have good seed, then you know that every single one of those seeds germinates. In that case, the yield number for the production of a 200 might, in effect, almost always be 100%. And in that case, your yield or your production safety factor would be, in that case, just a 1. So if you need 4 trays of 50s, then mathematically you just need 1 tray of 200s, but the safety factor would be 1, which means you'd only need to produce that 1 tray of 200s. So over time, as you collect yield information for certain crops in different sizes, these fixed numbers will be replaced with your actual yield performance in the nursery. All right, that's it. As a quick summary, so 2 new things in the menu: your production step editor, which is where you just define the conversion of one product into another with a static number of weeks. And then the other is the production pathway designer, where you link these different steps together and give it a name, and it calculates for you about how many weeks it will take to perform that. And then in your orders or in your production plan, when you create a new production plan, can't do it anymore, you get the green button that allows you to apply this new pathway concept and create the whole string of production orders, based on your design to get you from one size to another, even if there are many interim steps. The last note is that in the production pathway designer, it only supports, for right now, 6 transitions. So seed to 200s is 1, 200s to CP32 would be 2, and CP32 to a gallon would be 3, and then a 1 gallon to a 3 gallon would be 4. And you can link these together up to 6 times, which is a pretty long pathway. Should be perfectly fine for most people. And this will greatly reduce the amount of thinking work and unnecessary paperwork or Excel work, or however you're doing production planning today, and kind of links everything together, daisy chains activities together using conservative durations and conservative yield rates to get you where you need to go with minimal effort. So thank you very much for watching. As always, give a call. Always provide feedback. If you try the feature and something doesn't quite work the way that you think it should, just drop us a note. Or if you have ideas on how to implement this concept better, feel free to share that as well. So thank you again for watching. Have a good afternoon. Bye bye.